Dobro jutro, Serbia. My name is Chris, Canada Chris. I'm 36 years old, and I lived in Canada for 36 years. I met my wife probably about 5 or 6 years ago now, and she's Serbian. Well, her whole family is Serbian, all of her family. But her mom had come over, and she was born in '99, so obviously you understand why. And all of her family's here in Serbia, including her father. So when I ended up finding out that all of her family was Serbian, I was like, hey, like, we're going to have a baby one day, and so on and so forth. And she's currently pregnant, so that time is now. But I was like, I'd like to live in Serbia. I'd like to, reunite you with your family, bring you back. So her mother and her grandmother, her stepfather and two step siblings, herself and myself, have all come back to Serbia. So this is the first time that I've been here. Her mom lived here her entire life, etc., and her grandmother, and so we're all here now. And the plan is to stay here in Serbia. So, but today, outside of that little intro, I wanted to talk about how beautiful Belgrade is, but I don't want to explain it like every other kind of tourist that says, "Oh, Belgrade's so beautiful. It's just such a beautiful city. Look at, this building, look at that building." I want to give you like an actual like objective way of seeing this. Um, I currently live in Vracha, and when I go up to the main road and I'm walking up and down the road, I'll stop in at, a little bakery, and I'll go down to the gym, and I have my little daily routine. And there's a garbage container every 100 meters, 200 meters. And this is not something that you see in Ottawa. So Ottawa is the capital of Canada. It's in Ontario. So Ottawa and Toronto are probably about 500 kilometers apart from each other. And Toronto has a few million people, anyways, I'm sure, in the metropolitan, so the full city. The metropolitan of Ottawa has a little bit more than a million people. So Belgrade has at least twice as many people as Ottawa. But Ottawa's a very dirty city. And, Belle and I kind of joke around about it. When we used to drive through Ottawa, or like go for a walk or whatever, we were always like, oh my God, I'm so afraid because we're in the ghetto. Like, are we going to get stabbed here? Is it safe to be here? And we used to joke like this because the city is just so run down and so full of garbage, so disgusting. And the actual truth here, I think, is that people do not respect Ottawa. Half of the population, or maybe a little bit less, I'm just throwing a number out, are not like true like native people of the area. It's a lot of foreigners and immigration and stuff like that. And so there's all these different kinds of mentalities on how to live life, and because it's a very bureaucratic environment, the rules have been set up in such a way, the laws have been set up in such a way, that it makes it kind of like dummy and foolproof, and everything is very clear how you're supposed to live. And most of the onus, the responsibility of living, is put onto you. But then to have permission to do anything, the government kind of steps in with all of their laws and regulations and bylaws and licenses and all kinds of stuff. So with that being said, the way that the structure is set up a little bit is that there are no garbage containers. And I know this is kind of weird to understand, but there's no garbage containers because the city doesn't want to spend money on garbage containers. They don't want to give people jobs to make the city nice and clean and stuff. What they would prefer to do is to put that responsibility onto the citizens, and the citizens don't have much of that personal responsibility to carry their garbage, because there's no respect, there's no nationalism, and things like this. And so that was one of the things that, one of the TikTok, Serbian viewers had said, was that, the Western people tend to see nationalism as like a negative thing. But I don't, I think that anything done with, humanity and a certain level of respect, etc., is obviously appreciated on a global scale, right? But as far as I'm concerned, you have your own sovereignty as a human being, and you govern yourself, and you should be allowed and expected to govern yourself almost entirely without needing permission from everything else. And that scale opens up a little bit, and then that includes maybe like your relationship, and then it gets a little bit bigger, and then that's your family. So your family unit, while it has individuals in it who are self-governing individuals, your family unit's like, this is our blood, this is our name, this is who we are. And then you operate inside, your district, and your district inside your city, or whatever, and then your city inside your country, and then your country on a global scale. And so I think having that grouping of people and that similar mentality is a very good thing, which is why I have a lot of respect for, the traditional family values, and why I might be considered a little bit more conservative now in my life. Um, and the reason why it is that I think that similar people and similar ideals should be together. So Ottawa being such a kind of like melting pot of individuals and personalities and governance, and all this type of stuff, almost kind of like loses um, any kind of like sense of civility. And as a result of, like, one of the problems is that Ottawa's very dirty, and the only thing that motivates people is money. So if there's no money in it, people don't give a shit, and that means that people don't give a shit about a lot of things. So yeah. So anyways, so there's puke and piss and shit, and bottles and garbage, and all kinds of stuff all over the place. The buildings are damaged, and the streets are damaged, and everything's just kind of like broken down. And the reason that Canada looks so good on the internet and in YouTube videos and things like this is primarily because of the big show that they have to put on for the rest of the world. So they'll go ahead and they'll announce, we're taking the taxpayers' money, and we're going to put in $2 million, worth of like cleanup or whatever in the city. So then they give a bunch of jobs to people to kind of go clean up the city. It's all city employees, but of course it's all nepotism and stuff. So it's like, it's all the same people, the same groups, the same companies, and really what they're doing is just washing the money, right? Like the money's going from the city to the company that builds the buildings, that all of them are all friends with the city and the politicians, and vice versa. So the people don't really get anything for these projects that happen. And then once they're done kind of like cleaning up the city and making it all nice and planting the flowers, and it's the middle of July, they take all the pictures and they make all the videos and they do all the newscasts, and then that's the shit that ends up going onto the internet. That's why when you see other countries, they look so beautiful and amazing, and you get a perspective that is curated and cultivated for the rest of the world, so that you can kind of like seem like you're better than you actually are. And when you get there, you're like, oh fuck, Canada's not as nice as I thought it was. The system's not as nice as I thought it was. Oh wow, New York's not as nice as I thought it was. Um, and and I know that you might think that, or that some people think that about Serbia or Belgrade, and I understand. I'm starting to understand that a lot more, but I don't see that. I can see how you see it. Like, I understand. But I think Belgrade is actually a very beautiful city. I like it. I like the environment and the people, and I like how clean it is, and I like the way that things function around here. And of course, I don't have that depth yet, because it's only been a month and a half. But I'm starting to learn more about the education system. These are things that I'm talking about on TikTok, because I really want to get invested in understanding this community, and these people, and understand like how I can put myself in here respectfully, and make a living for myself and my family, and stuff like that. Um, so anyway, so it's been really interesting. I've learned about the education system, and I've learned about business, and I've learned about some of those more negatively seen things about how stuff operates here. But ultimately, I wish that I could say that, like, I'm like, I don't know how to say this. Maybe I'm just overstepping. Anyways, so yeah. So anyways, so I love your city, and I want to stay here for the rest of my life. And I'd like to have my family here. I'd like to have my Serbian child born here with my Serbian wife. Um, uh, that's pretty much it. Bye.